Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendon Traxler.
All right, take two, everybody. Welcome to the Colonize the Ocean podcast. This is our second time recording tonight because my co-host Brendon had a internet outage. So, pardon me if I'm not quite as enthused the second time around.
Whatever.
I'm kidding. Brendon, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
We're like I said, we did have some technical difficulties the first time around, but here we go. I mean, we're good. We didn't get that far into the first recording, so it's not that bad. But as we were saying the first time around, today we are recording on May 30th, and it's a good thing we did get to start over because we got some terminology corrected. So earlier today, like right now it's about 7 o'clock Central Time, but earlier today the SpaceX Dragon 2 spacecraft launched today, which is the first time since 2011 that we have sent astronauts into space in America.
And
correct?
And the first time on a private ship
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, I read. Oh, now I wish I would have looked this up before we got recording. But so I haven't. You're really big into SpaceX, and I don't pay as close attention. But I guess since that, I didn't realize that we still weren't launching astronauts up there because I knew that we still had people on the space station, but apparently we send them to Russia.
Yep.
and like they were saying, like it's like $60 to $70 million per seat or something like that.
We pay a huge amount of money to send them over there, so this is going to be big savings from the NASA budget alone.
Yes, so that's cool. We like to poke fun at the space industry on our like social medias and stuff. Just because we see them as competition in a sense. But either way, it's really cool. You know, there was a big part of history, you know, and I think they're docking at the space station tomorrow as of recording this, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, it's cool to pay attention to. But in other news that we're going to be talking about, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world today, but we do have something kind of cool to talk about, you know, that's uplifting. Earlier this week, Brendon, you actually got to watch this live, but there was I'll let you talk about it. It has something to do with Fabien Cousteau, grandson of Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah. So one of my biggest complaints, being involved in the underwater habitats, underwater colonization movement, and all that kind of stuff is and some of the stuff I've even wrote and talked about is how, you know, Jacques Cousteau is the person everybody looks to as far as he's a name that comes up for underwater exploration, colonization, habitats, all that kinds of with Con Shelf 1, 2, and 3, and his plans for future. And he, you know, had lofty vision, and he was actually getting stuff done. And lots of people follow in his footsteps, but there's been a huge lull in that. And so, you know, his son has been doing lots of stuff over the years, and then his grandson as well. But it's one of those things where you're carrying the Cousteau name, and where are these habitats that your grandfather was trying to build and all this kind of stuff. So it kind of rubbed me wrong a little bit that, you know, not much was getting done under that name. And then he sprung on all of us this past week that he's got a project in the works that called Proteus. And the webinar that I was on is a Zoom, actually. He was laying out what that looks like. So it was like, at first I was like, holy cow, you know, this came out like left field because I hadn't heard anything about this. And he's got, you know, 3D renderings of what it's going to look like and going in. And before we get too far into all that, you know, I want to throw back over to Adam as far as, you know, obviously he wasn't able to catch there, but, you know, what he's seen and what he's heard since then.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that now it's kind of starting to make the rounds a little bit. So I mean, it's cool to see because I guess from a business aspect, like I see it as like, oh no, we have another competitor out there. But one thing that's Brendon's always been super humble about is that he just wants to see somebody accomplish this. Obviously, we want to accomplish this, but we want to see something get done, or at least the the subject of underwater habitats, go further. So obviously, we want to be the ones to do it, but we want to see other people do it as well. So it's cool, especially like you said, with the Cousteau name being able to get involved in it. But it's going to be one of those things that now you have a more popular name, like that's associated with a lot of like ocean tech, ocean exploration. Um, I mean, Fabien Cousteau is Fabien Cousteau, sorry, Fabien Cousteau and his grandfather Jacques Cousteau, big names in that. So when people are following them, and then he comes out with this, people are going to start looking into this more. So it's good for them. It's good for the subject of underwater colonization, underwater architecture. But I guess by proxy, it's good for us too because now people who might start looking into like, okay, who else is doing this, or how long has this kind of subject matter been around for? So I mean, it's good for them. It's good for everybody, and like I said, it is competition now, but at the same time, it's overall going to be, I guess, a great thing. You actually did attend the thing, so um, what are kind of the details as far as like, does he have a timeline for this? Does um, what are how what's his plan going forward in trying to make this happen?
Yeah. So a couple things you said there I want to talk about though is that's my first thing too. Is like oh man, first of all we got a huge name coming in here. He's going to take all the limelight. Man, what's the word we're going to do? But at the same time, also my complaint, one of my complaints is that there's been no central figure in this whole thing. Like space has Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson, where underwater really doesn't have anybody except for the Cousteaus who weren't doing anything, and now they are. So it's great, and it's really not competition because what he's looking at doing is purely, basically he poised it as the underwater International Space Station. So his vision over the whole thing is that it's a global effort. Yeah, well, that not but global effort as well to get this thing built because it's a pretty good sized thing, but it's designed around the science community as well, which that's great, and we need that, and obviously that's going to get the different organizations involved. But that's really not where we're working for. Obviously, yeah, if that comes along too, that's fine. That's our model encompasses all that, but it's not just that. So it's not competition from that standpoint. So yeah, like you were saying, I welcome anybody to get this done, especially now that we got somebody to champion this cause. But yeah, talk about what he talked about is basically that his vision is that there'll be multiples of these habitats research centers under all around the world, and the designs we'll put a link in the website to the link to his website in the show notes. Sorry, a little distraction there on the other screen there. But to what he's doing, and the designs look pretty cool. He says his design is that it's not like Aquarius where it's smaller. It's like the size of a normal house, and it'll be able to house up to 12 different people. And you'll be able to carry out tons of different scientific research, and submarines will be able to come and dock there, and it's got a big moon pool, all this type of stuff. So a lot of the things that we've been talking about and wanting to do too, which I think is a common thing about most of us involved in this, is these different aspects. And he was just reiterating and talking about how this is what his vision is too. So it was really cool. He didn't lay out too much because it's very early on. Right now he's looking for sponsors and raising support because once again, he talked about the one thing. He goes, if he had the money, it had been built yesterday. And that's what we've said multiple times. If we had the money, the technology's there. It's all there. It's a dollar thing. And that's what now he's up against as well.
Yeah. And to chime in real quick, I do apologize if you do hear the background noises because I have my windows open because I live in South Dakota and it's normally not hot, but it's starting to warm. So we opened up the windows to get a nice cross breeze, but then you hear my neighbors and stuff. So I do apologize for that. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. So yeah, like you said, with what Fabian's doing with this is like creating the, I guess more of like you said, the International Space Station of underwater habitats, which itself is like an amazing thing where you have to kind of look at Atlantis Sea Colony as the SpaceX almost of underwater in a sense. You know what I mean? Like where, we want to be able to accomplish multiple facets, but um, our thing is going to be, and correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, but the more commercial aspect where we want anybody to be able to get involved in this, whether they have their own personal underwater home, or if you want to collaborate with other people and create like an underwater community, you'd be able to have that option as well. So yeah, I mean, is it competition in a sense? Maybe not, but I think we have to look at it as the sense of that now it is going to bring more attention to what we're trying to accomplish overall. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, it's one of those things where you can have a lot of comparisons between what we're trying to do in like the space community. Once again, like there's a lot of things that you can compare it to, where you have your hub like NASA right now, and then everybody else kind of comes in and wants to do their own thing. So, if it wasn't for NASA, there would, SpaceX and these other companies wouldn't. Maybe they would have eventually, but they wouldn't have, I guess, a facet to be able to accomplish what they're doing, or maybe their muse, however you want to say it. So yeah, it's really cool, and I do hope what he does gets accomplished, and that's one of those things. I'd love to get Fabien on our podcast sometime. Meaning he is a bigger name. He's a little bit more difficult to get into, but or get a hold of. So, but that is one of my goals. Is I am gonna someday I will find a way to get a hold of him to get on our podcast. I don't know what connections we need to make to do that, but I've told Brendon that that's what I want to do, is be able to get him to come on, especially now that we have like something in common to talk about. Because before, he was really kind of known about like diving and conservation and stuff. Like that was kind of one of his big focuses. And but now, I mean, we have, like I said, this big common project between us, so we could talk all day with that guy.
Yeah. And on that, and I'm glad you said that. I was like, so if anybody out there has contacts, we'd definitely love to see what we can do. But no, I think we've all reached out to him already to try to, to get with him. And, I've messaged him on his AMAs and talked to him a little bit there too. So, the dialogue's been open. I even said, hey, let's build some underwater habitats. Just like that, I'm thinking one of them. And he said, yeah, let's do it, type of thing. So I knew that's always been a desire of his to do. I mean, that was what he was raised it with. So, I mean, I know it's in his blood. And
Right.
in his love for the ocean, he sees the importance of that as well. So, yeah, this is great. Once again, I've told some other people, it's fascinating that, as we have a space race going on right now, this private space race, and here all of a sudden now in the last, I mean, it's been dormant for a long time. People have been talking and designing and stuff along those lines, but now like all of a sudden, there's several different names that have popped up here recently that are all gung-ho about this. And it really does feel like a race to who can basically get the funding first, honestly, is what it boils down to. Because, I mean, everybody's got their designs. They've got their ideas. But everybody lacks the money to do it. So that's really where it's at, is who can tap the pulse of the people and get them excited enough to send money, or governments or whoever you're going for, to get that funding.
One of the things I found interesting is one of the things that when after that that conference or meeting, or the interview that you watched with him, whatever you want to refer to that as, that when you were talking to me about it, you said that like he was kind of asked a lot of the same questions that we get, and he had a lot of the same answers. Like it's like I don't know how they phrased the question to him, but it had something to do with like underwater conservation and like interfering with habitats, and he basically, you said, had kind of the same answer we've been given about, when you're amongst it, it's going to be something that you're going to be paying more attention to.
Yeah, and I'll link the whole video. It's over an hour long, because it's him and the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute talking about different stuff and taking questions and stuff. But I'll definitely link that in the show notes. But yeah, it was. And once again, I think that all of us that are trying to do this have similar outlooks and similar answers to all the things, because we we understand the importance, not especially for that, for preserving the ocean, but there's not too much deviation as of right now into our short-term focus on what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where we have, well, you said there's been multiple people that are out there that have different designs, different plans for it. And even though everyone's a little bit different, I don't think anybody's ever had a nefarious mindset of going into this in a destructive mindset too. So it's one of those things, I think no matter who you talk to that's in this kind of business, they have the same, I guess, belief that whatever we're going to do it in a responsible manner. And but I mean, going back to what I said earlier, now we have a bigger name in the game that is going to, have some, I guess, some sway in those answers too. Like maybe it won't be nothing coming from you and me, but if Fabien Cousteau, I keep pronouncing his last name wrong and I've said it a million times. If Fabien Cousteau says it, well, they'll be like, oh, okay, I believe that guy. Brendon and Adam, I don't know if I believe those guys, but I believe Fabien, so whatever. If we can refer to an expert on it now,
Yeah.
or someone that's been in the game a little bit longer, so be it. So, like I said, all this is a positive for just this kind of business, which, like you said, has been dormant for so long. And now people like you and I, and now Fabien and, some of these other organizations, I mean, really, we have such a big challenge ahead of us because we're also trying to do this at the same time that a bunch of these big companies are in the space game. We just talked at the top of the episode about the accomplishment made today, but so I mean, it's a very tough competition to get into. I mean, I guarantee if like SpaceX was a startup business and they were looking for donations, it probably wouldn't be as hard for them to get donations, because people were all about space at one point. But yeah, so I don't know. I keep circling around it, but it's like having another bigger name in the field with this is going to be beneficial for all of us that are trying to accomplish this.
Yeah, I agree.
So with that, you said that you'll have the video. We'll have that in the show notes. We'll probably post it in our social media this week too.
Yeah.
I don't think we did last week.
I put the website and I put all the information we had at the time, but the video wasn't available when I was posting all that stuff.
Right.
So, but yeah, it'll show up this week during our social.
Yeah, so we'll put it in the show notes. We'll put it up on our social media this week so people can see it, because it's very, like I said, there's a lot of similarities in what we're doing, and that's good to hear that we have the same mindset as like someone that is probably more smarter than us. But with that, Brendon, I didn't have anything else to add. Did you?
No, I said that was the hotbed issue, and I think that it's the biggest thing that's come down the pipe from quite a while in this underwater colonization habitat field in quite some time. That as far as newsworthy. So yeah, no, it was as soon as I said, I was like, I already know what the podcast is going to be on this next week. That's what we're talking about. So yeah.
Yeah, normally we cover 2 topics, but I mentioned before we started that this could be a big enough topic to just have it be a single topic episode. So with that, once again, thank you guys for tuning in, and you can find us at colonizetheocean.com. That's the website for this podcast. Or you can find us at the brand new Atlanta Sea Colony website, which Brendon has worked diligently on. If you go to that site, you can get the links to all of our social medias, but just in case you want to hear it right from here, Atlanta Sea Colony on all of our social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, LBRY, YouTube, Reddit. I do want to make a quick comment. If there's a lot of Redditors that listen, please reach out to us, because I started the Reddit community, or I'm sorry, Brendon did, and then I was going to take it over. And I have been irresponsible on not posting on it as much as I should. So if there's anyone out there that wants to help me with like the moderation of a Reddit community, reach out to us, because I would greatly appreciate that, so we can keep that going, because that'd be good for us. Also, because I think I got all those ones. And then Patreon, we've been talking about that. So if you do have the ability to make a small monthly donation between $1 or $5 a month, all that is greatly appreciated, and it can help us with the podcast, and more importantly, it can help us with the beginning of the Atlanta Sea Colony project itself. Right now, it's all self-funded, and by self-funded, I mean Brendon's self. So we want to try to take some of that off of his his shoulders. And if you guys want to help us, if you can help us and be a part of something pretty big, we greatly appreciate that. Other than that, I'm sorry, I should have said the link to that. Patreon.com/Atlanta Sea Colony. I am stumbling over my words today, Brendon. I am very sorry about that.
Oh, man. But once again, it doesn't matter because all those links are on AtlantaSeaColony.com.
Yes, you can just go to AtlantaSeaColony.com for all.
Or in the show notes, because they'll be in the show notes too.
Show notes. I know, but it's not very professional me to not be able to say words on the podcast.
We're good.
We're just having an off day today. So thank you guys again for listening to the Colonize the Ocean podcast, and we will see you again next week.
Bye.